hello, everybody. This is a message from the resistance. Incoming transmission from the resistance. What's up? My name is DDM, and I haven't talked to you all since the election. It has been a very trying time for me, navigating what has been happening um, in our country. Um, it has been a time. It has been a time of depression, rage, anger, confusement, if that's even a word. But I thank you for joining me this evening. I just got finished watching the presidential address to Congress. And I don't know what to say. It has been an excruciating, 42, 43 days, something like that. In 43 days, we find ourselves in a trade war. There are bills being passed in states criminalizing just being transgender. The price of your eggs have not gone down. Some of you watching tonight have lost your jobs that you have worked years at. Are we great yet? Is it great yet? We have managed to piss off all of our allies while ingratiating ourselves with one of the biggest sworn enemies of the United States of America. You know, I watched this address tonight, and I've never seen something so divisive, so ugly, and unnecessary. You know, there's a lot of anger right now from the general public towards the Democratic Party for how they're responding to what's going on, and the executive orders being signed, and the issues with Ukraine, the tariffs. There's a lot of people saying, well, Dems, fight back. You're not fighting back. You're not doing enough. You're not doing these things. And this is a classic example of the problem with the American public. Is they're always waiting for someone to save them, or it's always somebody else's fault. To the American public, not all, because some of you went out and you did vote for Kamala Harris and you did vote for continuing democracy. But to some of you who died on your hill, and I'm going to be very frank, and I really don't give a shit at this point, which is why I haven't been doing this. For some of you who died on your hill about Palestine and Israel, are they helping you now? Because I don't understand how you staying at home help Palestine, Israel, or us. Because as a gay black man in this country, I'm under attack right now, and I don't see Israel or Palestine coming to help me. In fact, your protests are getting on my goddamn nerves. You're holding up fucking traffic, and I need to get to work. There are a lot of people, didn't think it was going to go this way, did you? There are a lot of people who saying, Kamala, what are you doing? What are your thoughts? Kamala interviewed for the job. She didn't get it. She's a private citizen now. So what she thinks of what she's doing is insignificant. And quite frankly, it's not her job or her problem. Where's this president? Where's that president? They're not in office right now. This ain't got nothing to do with them. You're waiting for somebody to come and save you. Well, you had a chance to save yourself on November the 5th. Cut the shit. Because at this point, the rest of the world, they don't view us as serious people. They view us as unstable. How do you as a country go from electing your first black president, giving them 2 terms, to electing someone who is an aspirational dictator who was a reality TV show host, went bankrupt several times over a more than qualified candidate because you didn't like her. She wasn't likable and she was a woman. Then your hand got burnt on the stove and you voted in another old white man, but this old white man seemed a little bit more reasonable outside of all of the other qualified candidates in the field that year. You voted him in. You didn't like what he was doing because your pockets was hurting, even though it was a global pandemic and there were shortages everywhere across the world. You didn't like what he was doing, so then you went back and you voted for the guy that you got rid of the last time who tried to overthrow a free and fair election. You put him back in office, and now you're running scared because you got fired and your Medicaid's looking crazy and your Social Security is up for sale. This is why the rest of the world don't think we're serious people. Okay? And quite frankly, this is a polite cuss out, but American citizens, you deserve everything you have coming to you. And, you're saying, oh, well, this, that, and the third. No, I'm going to tell you something. As somebody who has traveled internationally, talks to friends in different countries, nobody feels bad for us. They think you're dumb. And they think you deserve everything that you're getting. So that's on that. Now, about the president. Okay? About the president, because I don't feel bad for anybody at this point. About this congressional address. First of all, there were some people saying, oh, the Democrats, y'all not fighting enough. Y'all should have been, protesting and yelling and all of that. I think they did exactly what they should have did in this case, personally. Now, Al Green got kicked out, which I think a few Congress people did walk out. I know Jasmine Crockett, who is probably one of the most vocal Democrats in Congress right now, did walk out. She posted on her socials and everything. So a few people did walk out. But there's something powerful about seeing a stark contrast. Because here's why I'm happy that the Dems were quiet and they actually showed up and stayed seated and silent. They had their little signs, which I thought that was corny personally, but it's effective. Here's why I'm glad they went and they were silent and they sat the whole time. Because that sends a signal to people around the globe, other powers, other leaders, other citizens, that the United States is not 100% on board with this candidate. Because, see, if they'd either not came or either did the little phony clap, then that makes it seem like to the rest of the world, America as a whole agrees with this shit. So I'm glad that on national television, they did show up. I'm glad that they did stay silent. I'm glad because when you look at that picture, it is a stark contrast when you look at that video, and it makes a very powerful statement. And when you look at the civil rights movement, that's a lot of what the civil rights movement was founded on. Yes, for every Martin Luther King, there is a Malcolm X. But think about how seeing the footage of black people being chased down by dogs and fire hoses, sitting calmly in restaurants, and white folks just throwing food on them and things like that got people galvanized, and it made people say, you know what, these are not nice people. So I think what they did is powerful, and I support how they handled it. Because after a while, when you're dealing with a narcissist, the biggest thing you can do to combat that is to ignore them. And if you watch this address tonight, the longer it went on, the more annoyed he got. Because they didn't give him what he wanted. He wanted to argue. He wanted to go back and forth with Hakeem Jeffries. I can almost guarantee it. He wanted to have those moments, and they didn't give him those moments. If anything, he looked nasty. Not that that side of the fence cares, but he looked nasty. And as a black person in this country, I can't help but ignore. Even if you're not, if you're a person of color, if you're a woman, if you're gay, this government is not a reflection of the entire country. This government has literally been whitewashed. And to be honest, because I'm tired of, trying to think about how I'm going to word things and being politically correct and trying to think about all parties, the reality is this. This is the result of white men feeling like they're losing their upper hand because they had to share just a little bit of space and provide a little bit of equity. And when they don't get their way, they are willing to burn the entire country down and take everyone with them. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of sitting up here trying to be that. Let's call it what it is. Excuse my French, but I ain't see not near nigga in a position of power in that cabinet or in that panel. Nowhere. And Tim Scott, Big Gums, whatever his name is, you sit up there clapping looking like a first-class fool. And then you parade this little boy with brain cancer. He want to be a police officer. Oh, you're leaving out the part that you canceled cancer research. You pulled the funding for it. So this little boy that you're deputizing as a Secret Service agent can't even get the care that he got. And I want to know if little DJ has Medicare or medical assistance. Calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. Unnecessary. Unnecessary. What's really alarming is that when they pan to the faces of the people serving in this administration, you can tell that some of them don't believe the shit that he's saying, and some of them are scared. But power is a powerful thing, and people will abandon all of their morals for a seat at the table. Marco Rubio, you look crazy. He talked about your wife, I think. Wasn't him or Ted Cruz? One of them. You look like you wanted to melt into your chair at that meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. The Supreme Court look a little nervous. They got their shout out too. Yeah, bitch, y'all included in this. I noticed Ketanji and Sotomayor weren't there. A few others. The generals, they was giving stone face, but you could tell they wasn't 100% on board with everything that he was saying. A few things from this that alarm me. He's given this order of mandatory death penalty for anybody who kills a police officer. So let's think about this. What if there's a corrupt police officer, because, God forbid any of those exist, and you're defending yourself and you happen to kill this police officer? You automatically die. So does that mean that the rioters on January 6th who killed the police officers, are they going to get the death penalty too? You have Elon Musk, who is not from this country, and not saying that you can't work in government if you're not from the country. People do it all the time. But you have him poking around in Social Security. I have friends who I'm directly impacted. I have friends who have lost their jobs. I have a friend of mine, he worked at Social Security for 20 years. Job gone. So let's cut the shit. Let's cut the shit. This is not normal. And we're slipping into something that we have never witnessed in our country's history, quite frankly. And it's time to wake up. I know some people are like, I need to tune out to keep saying I haven't been able to tune out. I haven't been doing this show. And let's talk about that. The reason why I haven't been doing the show was partially because I was pissed. Because I feel like I'm doing a show every week, 2 weeks or whatever, trying to get the word out, doing all this research and education for this to happen. So what was the point of me doing it? I've been doing Secretary of Shade, 8 years now? Something like that. So part of it was that, and then also another part of it is this: am I really ready to risk what I have doing this? Because this is a very vindictive form of government that we have right now. What's to say they won't come after people like me? When I'm seeing Joy Reid and all of the black staff at MSNBC get fired, restructuring, DEI programs, which, by the way, white women benefited from those the most. You think about that. But then I think about I can't just sit still. That's just not what I do. Right? And in thinking about what's going on, I don't argue with people who don't understand how my side of the fence feels. I don't argue with them no more. I cut off a friend of mine, or at least who I thought was a friend of mine, for his views and his voting. And some people say, oh, you should never cut off friends for that. Yes, you should. In this era, yes, you should. Those people are not your friend. When I see trans people scared, when I see people getting fired, 4-star generals getting fired from jobs that they are more than qualified for, to get replaced by an inferior white version of it, yes, I should cut you off, because you voted against my rights, you voted against my humanity, you voted against my livelihood, so you're not my friend. And I want people to understand that it is okay to cut people off for how they voted in this election. I am not pulling punches anymore. I'm not saying, no, cut them off. They're not your friend. And 9 times out of 10, they were only your friend as long as you suited them. If you think that things are just going to mellow out, you're severely kidding yourself. It's never going to mellow out. This is the beginning. And it's only up from here. There are special elections coming up for some of these congressional seats. People talking about, midterms in 2026. We'll see. We'll see how that looks. We'll see how that works out for you. Because when you have a president who makes a statement in the last election that if you vote for me, you'll never have to vote again, and then you see the work that's being done right now, do you really have faith that in 2026 there'll be a midterms, bitch? Let's think about that. Now, with that being said, while I don't have to agree with you, I'm probably cut you off if I called you a friend. Because, see, it's one thing for you to be a stranger and support this bullshit because I don't know you. But if you called yourself a friend of mine, and yes, I'm pulling from personal experience, y'all can tell I'm mad. If you called yourself a friend of mine and you voted for this, you're not my friend. You're not my friend. Okay? But when we look at these addresses, it was incredibly divisive. It just showed where we are as a country. I think this congressional address just put a nail, it pinned it where we are as a country. And where we are as a country is divided. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Right now, we just deal with each other. But also, too, what a lot of Americans are getting ready to find out is that you should be paying attention to global politics. Because, see, in America, we have the privilege of ignorance. Oh, why are we sending money to this place? Like when Trump in the address tonight was running off the money that they found was going to different countries for different initiatives and different research here in America. The reason why we do those outreach missions and we support healthcare in other countries, give little things like that, which, and I'm saying little things because when your budget is in the trillions and you're talking about a 60 million cut, that's a drop in the bucket. That's $20. But the reason why we do that is for goodwill, keeping our pulse on the finger of those other countries, and also national security. Because guess what? A big reason why we do all of that is because don't nobody like us. Okay? They don't like us. So we basically pay to avoid a coup. Ding dong. We look at the tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Stock market already took a hit. Canadians are pissed. I have several friends that live in Canada. They pulled out shit right on off the shelf. Liquor gone. You want that maple syrup from Canada? You gonna pay for it. You think it's $15 now? It's gonna be $30 soon. And guess what, ding dongs? The Canadians also control the power grid to some of the parts of the upper eastern and midwest of the United States. So play with these people if you want to. You'll be following a line with flashlights out this bitch. This is not normal. This is not cool. And the reality is this. This all started with Obama. And you'll say, DDM. Oh, and I see somebody in the set saying they don't like white Americans. Let me advise you of something. When you go to these different countries, whether you're talking to a black person that lives in that country or a white person that lives in that country, honey, I got news for you. They may sympathize with black people a little bit more, but let me tell you what they say to you when you go there. You're an American first. We get caught up in racial politics here in America, but to the outside world, whether you're black, white, or whatever, you give a certain energy, you're an American first. So for all of these people who think, oh, the bombs won't touch me, or they not going to bother me, they ain't got no picks. So unfortunately for the people who didn't vote for this man, unfortunately for the people of color who don't support this shit and are being victimized by it, we chain to these people, unfortunately, as far as the world is concerned. They're not going to say, we're not going to attack this area because it's the black people here and, we know that they don't really fuck with him like that. No, just like how we drop bombs wherever, they're going to do the same goddamn thing. So that myth about they ain't worried about us, that's a fucking lie. And you will find yourself gagging fiercely, thinking otherwise. But that's where we are. That's where we are. And your president is not making it better. I guess this is the official return of me doing this, I guess. But I want to say this. Especially to my black folks, my people of color. We know how to be poor. We know how to survive. We know how to roommate up. Guess what? I'm getting a roommate, bitch. Because with these tariffs and these prices, I just got to be smart. You should be saving money right now, niece. But we know how to survive. We know how to be poor. We know how to ultimately get into community. And those are some of the things that we're going to have to go back to doing. Protect yourself. Protect your mind. Stay involved. Stay in the know. Stay connected. But maybe not watch the news. Maybe get it from the paper or subscribe to a credible source. I want to shout out The Atlantic. If you don't read The Atlantic has been doing phenomenal work, writing phenomenal pieces on this entire period so far. I highly encourage you to read The Atlantic. Heather Cox Richardson. She has a far bigger reach than me. She's like in the millions. But I read her letters every day. She does the heavy lifting. She does the hard research. I just give you a sounding board and a voice of reason and comfort. And I hope that helps you in some way. But those are the people that you need to follow to get the day by day. And Heather's really consistent with it. She posts a letter every day. If you don't follow her on Facebook, go on Facebook, look up Heather Cox, C-O-X Richardson, and she'll pop right up. But that's where we are. I hope that all of you stay encouraged, stay in the fight, because it is going to be a fight. We got ourselves into this mess. It's going to take us a little while to get out of it, and that's just the reality. But that's all. But if you want, follow the channel, Secretary of Shade, youtube.com/Secretary of Shade. If you want to donate to the channel, Dapper Dan Midas, Venmo Dapper Dan Midas. But it's getting late. It's already late. I hope you all are well. I hope you're doing fantastic. And I will be talking to you soon. Peace and love.